Akatake te hau ke te uru, akatake te hau ke te tonga, ki mākina kina ke uta, kia mātaratara ki tai, he hi ake ana te atakura, he teo, he huka, he hauhu, he hei mauri ora. Welcome along everybody to this morning's meeting. First item on the agenda is apologies. Haven't received any, so I'm assuming everyone's staying for the whole meeting. Item 2, declarations of interest. We do have a few for today. I am declaring an interest in item 10, Strengthening Communities Fund, for 2 of those groups, Old Boys Collegiate Cricket Club and 6 Living Laboratory Trust. Simon?
Yeah, same item 10 with Children specifically.
And Emma?
Item 10 with St Albans Residents Association.
Also, when we come to that, we'll put those ones separately. Item 3, confirmation of previous minutes. Pauline's moving. Do we have a seconder? Ali, put that motion. All those in favour?
Aye.
It is carried. Item 4, public forum. Anybody's here to speak? No. Item 5, no deputations, no petitions. So that takes us to item 7, which is Everall Street. So Wayne, table.
Thanks, Chair, members. So fairly straightforward, Everall Street, common parking management outside most school frontages. Consultation was done with the affected residents, no objections. Just been monitoring the school since it opened. So yeah, I had a meeting with the principal actually earlier in the week, so they still would like to proceed with this if possible. So, and I think it is warranted, and like I say, standard parking management outside most school frontages. So.
Yeah, this was actually initiated by the school, is that correct?
Yes, we did have it. We did have in mind. We have been working on the street prior to it opening. We blasted off some 90-degree parks and done some centre line marking. So, in preparation for this, however, agree possibly could have been initiated for the start. It's quite good to get the feel of what the parking behaviour as well. Yeah. The school, yeah, definitely school and support.
Is there a Kia crossing?
No, there's not. So in order for a formal crossing to be placed on Everall Street, there would have to be significant parking loss. The school are not in favour of that at the moment due to the fact there's a signalised crossing at that North Parade and Everall Street intersection which they're using, and also a signalised crossing on North Parade further down towards the recreation centre.
Yeah. Happy to move it. Ali moved it. Pauline seconded that motion. All those in favour?
Aye.
It's carried. Thank you, Wayne. Item 8 is the road stopping at 55 Cornwall Street.
Happy to move it. Second it.
Elizabeth, any questions?
Whoa.
Right, so Ali's moved it. Pauline seconded it. We'll put that motion. All those in favour?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
It is carried.
Is that the one with the developers? Developers building buying them out to the front? No.
It's because there's potential for subdivision that's not at the moment. Great.
Can I just ask a question, not about that item, just wondering, the delegations around this kind of stuff, are we highlighting those as potentially needing to be reviewed? So this is a delegation to the community board. Is there a discussion that should be had around reviewing that? Or is that for another time? Or
I thought we had that
what was the other one?
conversation.
Can we take them?
Yeah, so I'm just wondering if we're keeping a list of the things that specifically need to be reviewed. It just might help the next board.
Yep, we can make a note of that.
And the other one was...
There was one a couple of meetings ago, wasn't there?
Yeah, what was it?
Is that the drainage stormwater designation?
It was.
Public board area. So,
Yeah, it was the Belfast.
So I can read the bit at the
Um,
top.
Was it?
was
Yeah,
a consent
But we'll look
condition.
back and check that. We'll go
Yeah, I'm
back
just
one.
thinking if we keep a running list, it might make it easier for the next board.
Yeah. Good memory, Simon.
Yeah, no, actually, I want to vote against that, to be honest, because that's
It's been posted.
It's already done.
yeah, I still have my vote recorded against it.
You voted for it though.
I didn't. It just all just went ahead. I didn't do anything. Because that's the bit that these are the green spaces that I don't think should be, given up in the highly intensifying area. So I don't agree with it.
It's already gone through, but if you want to record it against, that's fine. It's
We can record it both.
Yeah.
So then make a note of that. Okay, item 9, timber lining renewal for canal reserve drain. Thanks, Elizabeth.
Thank you.
Hello again.
Welcome. So we'll take the report as read. And if are there any questions?
What's that?
Any questions?
Just, I mean, the basic reason for this is for meeting the report is partly to do with the ground being so,
Yeah.
I guess, marshlandy.
Yeah.
And so therefore you require much bigger posts.
Yeah.
And then it's a challenge to get those in anyway because of the power lines.
Yeah.
And then also the added expense of those bigger posts. And so the, and also, is it DOC or Forest and Bird DOC?
Department of Conservation.
Yeah, was supporting the timberline drains to protect the land prizes.
Yes. Yeah.
That's great. Okay, well, I'm happy to move that.
Yeah, I'll second it. Any debate? No, put that motion. All those in favour?
Aye.
That's carried.
Thank you.
Thank you. That takes us on to the big one for this morning, item 10. Welcome, team. Stacey and Helen.
In front of you, you have our staff strengthening communities recommendations for 22-23. And there's the spreadsheet. At a workshop held in July, you've noted in the board workshop some of the changes that you indicated that you may wish to make more or not. Happy to take questions.
Pauline.
Yes, I'd like to suggest an amendment to the St Albans Residents Association, and I'd like to put that up to, I will get another 8, please, to 18. And the reason being is, and I also think we need to clarify the project, because it's not actually for activation and projection system, is it? It's for salaries, admin and expenses.
For all of your staff wages, staff costs.
Yeah. But not the activation.
And a part of, but including the
It's just that sort of the overall running of the organisation.
community centre manager.
Because I think that even with the board putting in 18, it's still relatively modest contribution, and the fact that they are still managing the COVID applications. So I think they've done really well, and I could foresee that next year there's probably going to be less at all as the bookings come on warmer. I think they did lose some people during COVID, like most of the organisations here.
It's still I'll speak, but yeah, it still is quite. There's quite a few groups that are still not meeting in there. So there's
But anyway, I would
quite a
like
few
to second
cancellations.
Mike is willing to second that. Do we have any more questions?
Just a related one on the SAR application. I see there's a recommendation in there for the Waipapa board as well for 7,000.
Sorry, I should have mentioned all of the recommendations from other boards have been confirmed. The recommendation amounts there are what the boards have recommended.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Any other questions? Ellie.
What is the effect of an additional $8,000 being given to SAR?
It reduces the amount of money we have in DRE in each year.
Right, and
So
that'll
that-
take it to someone.
One moment.
Just
Take it down to about 41.
34251.
right. Takes it down to 32.
No,
342.
No,
what we left with in the discretion.
and for the board.
It'll take it down to about 41,
41.
I believe.
41,398.
Yeah, 798. And there is also wash up that comes later
Right.
to add to that.
Approximately 36,000 wash up.
So, sorry, that will have an
There's
impact.
approximately 36,000 wash up that's
Addition.
It's been carried over.
That's been carried over
Right.
where we've pinched everything back. And I haven't got confirmed figures for Central yet. That's just
Yeah.
from Papanui-Innes.
So
That would leave us with a discretion of around 77.
77 or maybe
So,
70.
round about.
You know, that's for your board projects.
Yeah.
Everything that comes out of that.
Can I just
And
ask a
the
central
sections
one
on
to
top of
that?
as well.
Yep, Ali, and then we'll come to you, Simon.
Where were we at the same time last year? Is that a sort of an acceptable figure? Are we way down? Are we pretty much the same?
I think last year we carried forward just under, probably roughly the same, it will
Right.
take a couple of thousand pounds.
So with that extra 8, we would be in a similar position as we were, okay. But we have a lot of COVID issues with a large number of groups. They're still dealing with that, right? So we're in a different situation. Okay, thanks.
Simon.
Oh, I just want to clarify, page 42, item number 3 of the officer recommendations, it shows if we accept the staff recommendations, a remaining balance of 59,398 to the DRF. So my understanding would be if we increase the SARA grant by $8,000, we'd still have 51, not 41,000. Just wanted, I think we were $10,000 out with those numbers just then.
Oh, no, because the
Oh, is it?
51
Oh, there's other ones
there.
too.
The agenda figures don't take into account the workshop.
Sure.
Which basically equates to 10,000.
Gotcha, okay. Thank you, I withdraw and apologise.
No, don't be silly, I think you still deserve chocolate fish for that.
Just close the door.
Yeah.
Any other questions, or does anybody else want to propose any other changes? No? Okay, so we need to, should we do the SARA one first, because we'll put that one separately.
Yeah.
So this is Pauline's amendment. Is it an amendment?
I think it is.
Yeah. She's amending 18, Sarah, so we'll put that motion. No, sorry, Pauline, you're going to move it. Mike seconded it. Any debate on that one? Kelly?
I am going to support that. It's a lot of extra money to be giving, especially when we've got a large number of groups that I think are going to come out of the woodwork in the next little bit, also affected by COVID. One thing that I think has concerned me a little bit about Sarah, and I appreciate that they're working very hard and do a great job, is that I just don't see the oversight from the community board and the council in supporting them to promote themselves and get themselves out there. And I think that if that happened, they would be far more independent to be able to stand on their own 2 feet. So I really would like to see a better internal support, or either at civic or ward level, so that SARA can promote itself and what it does in the community centre a lot better than they currently do. I think that would make a real difference.
Yeah, I'd just like to request the board do support this. It takes their combined with the other board funding to 25 to help with the admin. We designed and built that centre, the council did, with the community. It's only been open just over a year and a half, I suppose. I don't know, it's a bit of a blur now. I think they're still getting on their feet, and I think they're doing an incredible job. I know, and I went to the Residents Association meeting the other night, their outreach is good. They are approaching many other funders. In fact, the comment was, so what hard work it is doing these applications actually. So I've got full confidence in the management of that centre. And I think this is a really good way for us to show that we're supporting the community running this centre. And actually, when you think about it, it's saving the council a lot of money to have communities running centres. And not only that, but it's a lot better because they have a lot more relationships and closer ties with the community and with the funders. So I'm really supportive of this group. I think we're doing a brilliant job. So let's get them behind them right now and give them a little bit of a hand and see how they go next year. And I'm assuming that they will be coming and reporting back to us in the new board. Thank you.
You will not need to be contributing.
No,
Can I not even add to the discussion?
no, you can't
No.
even say that.
Because other groups don't have the opportunity to do that, so that's. I wasn't keen to support this until I heard that we have $36,000 carried forward. So with knowing that we've still got that bigger amount in our DRF, I'm happy to support the work that Sarah is doing and support and see a great job with the new centre. Anyone else? No? Okay, so we'll put that motion. All those in favour?
Aye.
That is carried. We'll then we'll do the Te Ora Hau one next. So Simon's going to sit this one out. So that one, it's on my list, $20,000, that's the staff recommendation. We have a mover and a seconder, Mike, I'll second it. Put that motion, all those in favour?
Aye.
That's carried.
Can I say something now? Just out of interest?
No, we'll finish.
We're not in debate now.
Still not allowed to? No.
And Simon, I might hand over to you to do those other two, so it's the Old Boys Collegians and the Sticks Living Laboratory Trust.
Sure thing. So Old Boys Collegians, Sticks, let me just find it on the list, Living Laboratory Trust. So we've got recommendations of $3,000 and $8,000 respectively. Mike is happy to move that. Do I have a second? Emma Twiddell, second. Any debate on those? All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. That's carried. Back to you, Emma.
Thank you, Simon. And so now we'll do the remainder of them. So we do have those changes. So if we just go through those ones. So that was the Anglican Diocese of Christchurch, Parish of Millrail St Albans. So we're upping that one to 5,000. Make that 5. Yep. Got Papanui League Club going from 3.5 up to 5. And my order's not the same as yours. And then we're doing Sockburn Park Amateur Swim Club. Taking that from 1 up to 2,000. And the Maraho Library.
Great.
Right, so we move that into second of those. Emma moved, Ellie seconded. Any debate?
Yay for books.
Right, we'll put that in motion. All those in favour?
Aye.
It is carried. Thank you very much for all your work on that.
Yeah, and thank you for this. This
Sure.
is awesome to have in front and look at. Thank you.
Item 11, questionnaire response fund application from Delta Community Support Trust.
I take you, the report is read, happy to answer any questions. Just that I think earlier in the year, Mike Stanley, the manager of Delta, presented the report and they're doing some really good work, and the VB has been inundated with requests. They do have a government contract, but that is separate to the community contract.
Lane?
Yeah, thank you. I'm just looking at, and look, try and help me because I might not have done it right, but I'm looking at the number of food parcels has now gone up to 3,000 a year. And they're wanting, the total cost of their project is 221,000. So I'm just looking at, maybe they'd be just to give people some money to go and buy food, I don't know, I mean. Or does that 221,000 total cost, does that include other parts of this organisation's money? They've requested 50,000 towards the food parcel.
Is that?
Yeah, but the total cost is written down as 221. It's a phenomenal amount.
That's how organisations.
Probably not the whole organisation, but it would be probably for some of those costs in storage and incidentals. Yeah, they do get a lot of high gifted from some of our bigger organisations, foodstuffs and such.
I think Pauline's right. Is there a breakdown of that cost available?
I think we need to write a letter to the
Expensive
government.
project runners is what I'm trying to get at here. I mean, I know that it's a very valuable service that I'm reaching out to people, but I'm just looking at the costs here. I mean, and you're looking at us putting in 5 and Central putting in 5 to give them 10,000. So for last year it was, say, call it 2,000 food parcels. This year it's 3,000. Even $10,000 with 3,000 food parcels is a lot. We need a lot of it donated, and also a lot of it's salaries and wages, and I thought a lot of it would be volunteers.
They do have a lot of volunteer time gifted, but actually there's a lot of they're inundated, so they do need paid stuff. I'm just looking on our system to see if I can find the breakdown.
So can I just add to that? It does say, it says contributions sought towards salaries and wages, 50,000. And that's 5 part-time staff, so that's 10,000 each. So those certainly aren't volunteers unless they're volunteering part of their time. Yeah, funding is sought for 5 part-time staff, so this doesn't even go towards the actual food package itself.
So I worked out that the total cost of 221,643 for the project, each food parcel's costing $74, or if it's 50,000, then each food parcel is costing $17, which is still a lot. So it doesn't make sense to me.
But it's not the food.
$17 in wages.
It's not the food parcel though. Can I just clarify that this is for salaries? So this
Yes,
is
I know, but
paying the
it's for
food.
salaries to deliver the food parcel project. So the salaries alone are costing.
Part of our strengthening communities criteria is we don't fund client, but we fund people, staff.
Yeah, to the minister, yeah.
I'd like to know how much of our money goes into the food, providing food for people. Because, it does seem to be all over the place, and I really do believe that we should be hitting the government up. I don't sort of think the council's role is providing food for people.
So, I wonder if is there urgency around this, or can we lay it on the table and get a report?
Yes, I've got the budget in front of me, but which the group has submitted, and I've got a operating expenses of 110,000, vehicle charges of 11,000, staff of 89.
So that's for the organisation as a whole.
Does that all add up to 221? Do you think? Is that the?
I'll give it to Tree because he's already there.
Mike, did you want to say something?
Oh,
Yeah,
thank you.
I
I was just wondering, obviously the other boards had their decision on Wednesday. Do we know what the result is?
$5,000.
So you're saying those operating expenses that you've got there on the budget add up to
The 200.
that total. So that total cost is for all of their programs that they run, which is a heap of different ones.
So you've got the Evergreen Club, you've got the Disability Club that the program that they run the migrant program from Arts.
The preschool program.
Yeah. Yeah, so they do. And I know with their food program that they work with the people that do come in and see how they can move them away.
I know, but are you basically saying then that this 50,000 for salaries is actually for more than the food bank, perhaps?
No, that for the 5 part-time staff that work for the food bank. Other costs are part of the organisational costs.
Ali?
Can I request that we correct and tidy up that matrix, only because I think it is
not very clear. But I agree with Pauline. You've got request budget, total cost, then you've got a total cost for the entire organisation. That figure underneath isn't correct because it looks like 50 bucks. I know that's a typo. But so can we just tidy it up so it's really clear? I don't mean that as criticism of all of you guys, but, and it might be me that's not following, but I do think it needs to be a little clearer than it currently is.
Through the chair, that's pre-populated from our system. So maybe if we tweak the assessment, because we can't actually change the figures from what the group have input. So if we tweak the assessment to reflect that the 221,643 is actually operational costs, and which element covers Delta as a whole, and then which elements come down.
Because I think in that matrix it's got name and description, it's got feedback program, and then if you go across it's got request budget and it's got total cost. So it is easy to look at that and go, that's what that relates to.
And I think that's possibly not the user friendliness of our system for organisations.
Understood.
Yeah. Mike?
Is this the only application that we have for Delta?
They have a metro application. I think this is their third year funding, and that was for their Evergreen program. And that sits at a metro level. Because of the boundary changes, next year I'm going to sit down with their finance person and look at, because at the moment they get potch meals, and look at a strategic approach about what they would apply for. And you do.
Right.
Yeah, I was actually going to suggest that as well. There seems to be like $50,000 just for salaries to administer this, and that's without purchasing any food. I know they get some donated. As I said, it works out to $17 a parcel. Are they doing this right? What do they get in the parcels? What do they look like? Are they like massive boxes, or are they like something?
I think they're feeling, I mean, I think they're meant to, help someone out for a week. So if someone.
So they'd be worth quite a bit.
Yeah. So if they don't want to help someone out for a day. They don't want them turning up the next day.
Okay.
So, a week or sometimes 2 weeks.
Okay, so they're worth considerably more than the $17 plus what they're worth. Okay, well, that makes a difference. But yeah, I think it would be quite good to see a bit more of a detailed breakdown of this and those collections as well.
Simon?
Just process-wise, I agree that the numbers are a bit confusing at the top of this, but sorry, we're not in debate, but just in terms of speed to the process, what we've been asked to contribute is peanuts. $5,000 to support the distribution of 3,000 food parcels. Means our board's been asked to contribute less than $2 a parcel. And I just wonder whether we should get too hung up on the information at the top of the page, and maybe we should focus on whether or not we want to support the outcome.
Can I just talk to
We're still in questions.
I'm happy to move.
Mike's moved it. I'm happy to second it. So now we can move to debate. Kelly?
I actually think the process is really important, and I think the information we receive as a board is absolutely critical. And I think that, regardless of whether it's $1 or $5 million, the point is we've got to be making informed decisions. I really want to support this, but I can't at the moment because I'd really like to leave it on the table, because I would like to support it, but I don't have the information there to be able to make the decision. And it might seem like peanuts, but when you look at the money that we've given the Motorhome Library and others on the list, every dollar counts. So I'd just like to see a bit more information actually.
Lee?
Yeah, thank you. While I agree with Ellie, and it was me that flagged this kind of questions around the money, I also support and agree with what Simon's saying. We're contributing $2 to a food parcel. I don't want to not support this because it's such a good project and people are really needy at the moment. There's a lot of people struggling. So I think that in this case we've had verbal responses from staff, and I think that I will support this today. But I wonder if we could get a noting provision there just to clarify that project cost is actually the whole organisation's cost, not just this project. and also to note that the staff are going to work with the organisation to make sure that that they've got the financials right and on the right track with this. So today I'll support it with those provisions. Thanks.
So just come up with, so we just want to note that the total cost in the decision matrix is for the whole of the organisation. The right wording?
The operation of the whole
Operation,
organisation.
the whole operation of the whole organisation.
Emma, that's the information that I needed to make the decision, so I'm happy to support it.
If it's got that then.
information.
Yeah, hold on, Emma, we'll just get this wording and then something about that.
I don't think we need the other
No,
one.
we've been given staff assurance
that
that
we're going to do.
yeah.
Yeah, thanks.
Emma,
I would also like to know how much money we are putting into food parcels around the whole ward, because there is a lot going on, and it'd be interesting to know actually how much of our funding overall is going into providing people with food, because I do think it's a big issue for that, for us to be continually rolling with when it is really a government problem.
I just wanted to mention that I understand what you're saying, Emma, but these guys, this organisation uses the food parcels as that touch point to get people in and get the help that they need. So I'm really happy to support this now that I agree with having that information to make a difference. But yeah, they're doing a great job and they are reaching people who need it. Simon?
Thank you. Yeah, I've visited the food bank at Delta. It's a big operation. It was a big operation. It was possibly pre-COVID actually. I was there. It was a big operation then, and I know the community leaders certainly not diminished since then. So yeah, we're making a relatively small contribution to a substantial piece of community support, which, as Emma said, provides a touch point for community support as well as directly providing kai. I had another amazing point to make on that as well, but I'll be happy to leave it there.
No, put that motion, all those in favour?
Aye.
That is carried. Item 12, Youth Development Fund application from Burnside West University Cricket Club. And move that. Mike seconded it. Put that motion, all those in favour? Aye. That's carried. Item 13, we've got 3 different Youth Development Fund applications. Any questions? Mover and seconder. Ali moves, Simon seconded. Put that motion, all those in favour?
Aye.
That's carried. And item 14 there, area report.
Report is read. Questions?
Pauline?
Yeah, thank you. I think the right report on page 98. Is it still? Oh, yes. The St Albans Park Toddlers Playground fence. So I've been down there and had a look, and it's a beautiful job. The St Albans Park Playground fence, it's a beautiful job they've done, but 2 gates are not working. One's off its hinges completely and just leaning up against the fence so that that's actually an opening. And the other one is needs a latch so it doesn't stay shut. And it's such a shame because otherwise that would be a nice secure playground where parents and caregivers could actually just relax a little bit more. It's not just keeping children in, it's actually keeping things like dogs out. I think it's really important that we finish that job. So can we please get a request in for those ones? They're both just repair jobs actually. One's hinges and one's a latch. So that's that one.
Can I add a bit more to that, Pauline? In the fact that there's also been apparently some things cut off, and so there's actually some safety hazards inside the playground. So there's things sticking out of the ground that haven't been completed.
Oh, that's pretty good.
And also around there, the roadworks that they've done, they've taken out all the harakiki. Why? So 20-year-old harakiki has been removed and replaced with
road-
some,
From the roadside garden.
yeah,
Maybe they're getting too big.
yeah, I don't know, but it'll be interesting to find out, how they've managed to get rid of some 20-year-old harakiki in the community.
And
just like that.
About that.
Yeah.
And then the other one I've got is on page 91, 3.2.4, through other flooding. So the Community Resilience Coordinator for the area, who is that? I don't know who.
Sarah Cornell.
Sorry?
Sarah Cornell.
So has she ever been here to talk to us or?
New into the team, so will be coming and has only just recently met with our team as a whole.
Oh, so it's a new role?
It's not a new role, it's a new person.
So who was in the
role?
Crystal
Crystal
Anderson.
Yeah.
And did we hear from her?
We did.
I think she came to introduce herself very early on in the piece, so quite some time.
So
ago.
has anyone of these community resilience coordinators been working with the likes of Peter Timms? Do we know?
Probably not yet because they're new to the role. So
But the
it
other
depends.
one?
The other one I know was working with Shirley Community. So she was helping communities come up with a resilience plan as a whole, of how they would support each other in the case of an emergency. Rather than.
Okay, well, it might be a really good idea if the new one comes to new board at some point.
Yeah.
But I hadn't, I'd never heard of them and never met them.
Okay, so maybe Brendan Winder as well then, the new civil defence manager.
We had him at a joint board.
Yeah.
Recently.
That could be good to come to the new board. So there is community resilience coordinator is more making sure people are prepared for a flood.
Well, then can I just jump in there?
rather
It
than
might help.
an event. Yeah.
I think we should have a look at the job spec. Sorry. Could we see what the description of the role is? I think that would make it really clear, because I had exactly the same questions as you, because I think this is one of the roles, or I thought it was one of the roles, or something we were really missing in the community was a facilitator, and to hear that that's what the person's doing is not what I would have thought the person was doing. And I actually would have thought too that it required more than one person, but again, I don't know what the role is. So can we ask for that just to see what?
When Sarah
When
comes,
she
she can
comes to
explain her role. There are more than, Sarah's not covering the city.
No, I meant our area. Yeah, look, appreciate that she'll tell us what she does.
Yeah.
Can we see what the role is, please? Could we see a job description or a role description?
And could we also find out if it is her, and it'll come through that, but if it's part of her role to get out there when there is an event? Because that is what people really want to see as well, not just preparedness for it. So if you could find that out.
I will check on that, but as I was setting civil defence with them, we were pulling all the intel in, and the people with the feet on the ground of the RT teams, which Mark may be able to speak to because he's part of those teams.
Yeah.
So we have some people that are in the POC doing the paperwork.
Yes, but what we're talking here, and this came up at council the other day, is that yes, you've got civil defence when there's an emergency, but you need another layer here when it's not a declared emergency, but it's a crisis. And so that's what we really want to address as well, and make sure we've got people there to help people in a crisis where it's not a declared civil emergency. So it'd be really good for them to come along and have a chat.
And added to that, it would be great to actually hear about the project that they've done in Shirley, and in our ward, can that be extended out, that piece of work be given to other groups so that actually, it's of greater value. I mean, each area would need slight changes and so forth, but if the base is there for a resilience plan, and surely then let's get it out to all the other communities.
Totally agree. If it's a template, then let's use it.
Yeah.
I was just going to mention also under the flooding, but under the 3.2.2. Thank you to Trevor. I know you were in touch with Shirley Community Trust during that flooding event. They were affected, so thanks for that. And from what I've heard from them, they did appreciate that contact.
Yeah, the flooding was, I had a wee look around that area. The flooding was bad. Really bad.
Just blocked drain though, was it?
Was it a block drain?
I mean, the great thing was the aside was that Anne, who I contacted, she sent photos of her husband down the street, knee deep, working. So I mean, they just got into it.
Ellie?
Look, can we just have a quick update as to where we're at with that report going back to council? You know, the flooding stuff that we had a briefing on, where is that at?
I think it's going on.
Going to council 8th September.
Yeah.
And we see the report before it goes, because my understanding was we do.
Well, it will go live a week before. Anyway.
Mark, do you have anything on that?
We can certainly see the agenda, and I can follow up and just see if there's possibility of any earlier view, but it'll definitely be on the agenda, which is not far off. So I will follow up on that account.
Thank you. I would fully expect the community board that's been leading this and across this to be able to see that report before it goes live even. I don't think that the board should be expecting, or, you know, we should only be able to see it when it goes live. I think the board needs to see it before it's finalised, is my point. We've been dealing with this now for nearly a year. This is a key part of the process. I think the board needs to see it before it's finalised. Could you confirm that that's going to happen? That was my understanding actually, Mark.
Yeah, I'll follow up on that and get back to the board just to outline the process there and do my best on that front.
Appreciate that. And if we are not able to see it before it's finalised or contribute to it before it's finalised, could you find out why, please? That would be helpful.
Yes, yeah, definitely. My understanding would be that they've definitely, I can see that they've taken account of the feedback that you've fed into the system. So there is that dimension of what's going into it, and I'll follow up on anything further that we can do.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks, Mark. Anything else from the area report?
Oh, just on the flooding, I did note on Springfield, no, not Springfield, Caledonian Road, there's been work done on the footpath, the verge there, where the last 3 flooding events, the houses have flooded. And so they're actually working there at the moment and building that up. So
my understanding is that there have been no homes inundated.
Council have been saying they didn't know of any homes being.
Well, there's.
Where were those?
Just across the road from the community centre, a little bit closer to Leah, but basically across the road.
So inside the houses.
Well, yeah, or right up to the houses.
All right.
So
there is a difference.
Yeah,
There's a real difference.
Sorry, yeah, right up to their properties. I don't know if it entered the properties or not. Okay. But I was just talking to one of the neighbours the other day who's parked his car in the car park while works are going on, and he was saying that it's because they're raising the gutter to stop the flooding coming right up to their properties. So yeah, it's a little piece of work that's being done to improve the situation.
Like what they could do outside towns.
Yeah, but Peter Timmins could actually rebuild using his
Right, we're moving on from that.
insurance money too,
We're moving on from that.
like everybody else in the
Emma?
city.
Emma, has anyone else got any other questions from the area report? No. Okay, we need a mover and a seconder. Simon and Pauline. Put that motion, all those in favour?
Aye.
That's carried.
Good report, thank you.
Yeah, very thorough.
Real beauty.
That's Mark.
That's Mark.
Good job, Mark. The final item
You
is
could have taken that one.
elected members information exchange. Pauline.
Sorry, Mark.
Yeah, this might be a question for Mark, because I sent it through the guy Matt on Slater Street, who's wanting to know the timeline for that renewal from I think it's Warden to Shirley Road. Have we got back to him yet?
Surely, I haven't got back to him. I have emailed through to staff that are leading the craft program just to follow up and get that confirmed. I haven't had any update that the timeframes changed from way earlier in the year when it was when we were looking at it, but I do want to check with staff just to make sure. So I will follow up and get that clear response and then go back working with staff to respond to him if that is helpful.
Yeah, that'd be good. He's contacted me a lot because the intersection of Warden and Slater, you can see the big burnout marks we're doing burnouts at night, and then he said there's quite a few accidents actually in the middle of the night. There was one at Dudley Slater the other night, so this sounds like there's a big issue down there. So anyway, if we can give them some comfort.
Those craft projects, they still had to go through detailed design, and they will go through individual consultation as well.
Yeah, so it'll be a wee while, but he's asking when, so if we can tell him when, that'd be good. I've had a contact from the palm tree on Laguna, at the Laguna Gardens in Clearbrook. You know, the one that blocks we fixed. Yeah. Well, and I think it's a fair request. She suggested that the council put some ground cover planting on that soil, and I think it's a really good idea. So can we get that through to Parks team to request that if the board's supportive? I don't know, it would cost a lot, but whether we have to chip in our discretion, I don't know. But a ground cover, because they've just put a wooden surround to keep the palm tree in now, and it's just this rounded mound of dirt, and the people saying it's actually washing off in the rain, which isn't good for our water quality either.
I'd be able to support that request.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah, that's at Palms Drive, I suppose, and so that's some request for some ground cover to stop the soil washing away.
Yeah, yes,
Yep.
That's right. Yeah, because it is washing away. It'll also look a lot nicer. That's it. Thank you.
Anyone else got anything?
I was just wondering about what council does, how it follows up building contractors who rip up the gardens and grass areas and things on the roads, on the footpaths. And what's brought it to mind is Westminster Street, their Cranford Westminster corner where the new housing is, and at the moment there's tracks through the gardens about this big from the trucks, and I wonder what the council's policy is in making sure that these contractors fix up their damage that they cause to our infrastructure. Be interested in knowing.
Well, they have to leave it as it was before, and if they're not leaving it as it was before, then they have to be told to do so. So it's that simple.
Yeah, but how does that happen? Because I mean, you look around a lot of our garden areas on our streets and things like that, and they are not fixed up.
Well, it's a council issue.
So again, it's accountability.
Mark, can we check that, please?
Yes, yeah. If we're talking, we've got Steve Guy coming for the maintenance, like if it's damaged the road maintenance, just after this meeting, be a good chance to talk to him about that. But I can perceive that relates also particularly to the landscaping, which is a separate department, so I can follow up on that front as well.
And while we're there, the landscaping around the roundabout at the top of Cranford Street, where they've had to take all the plants out for 2 metres to ensure better visibility. Is there a ground cover they can put in that garden too instead of leaving it bare? It looks terrible. It's still not council. Okay.
If you're seeing that from the contractors,
You try to snap sense out.
Go on the cycle then. Mike.
Thank you. Just a couple of things. There were some concerns from some residents in Farquhar's road about the speed of the traffic. So we've done multiple traffic speed counts down there because there's some inconsistencies with one of the with some of the data, but it's come back. There's not a speeding issue, so it looks like it's just the odd bit of social behaviour of some of the people going too fast, but the medium speeds and 85th percentile is okay. But I think it'd be a good idea just to, from the board, just write to the police just to let them know that the residents are concerned with some of the excessive speed shown by just some of the individuals in there. Have a look at it.
And I think we've said it before as well, that with the council bringing in all these new 40k zones and things like that, where's the education?
This isn't a 40k zone, but we had a good look at the actual speeds along the street. So the speeds along the street are okay. So it's pointed towards actually just a few individuals, locals, that are obviously just using it as a bit of a racetrack. So I was trying to highlight it to to the police because there's not too much we can do as a council that actually speaks to it.
This is the problem with averages, right? We get the same response, you know, you get an okay speed when in fact it's the extreme.
Yeah, well, the 85th percentile is okay, so it's just a very extreme, but it's an issue for the community because they don't want that extreme speed going down there. But it's not
It's
so
that
much
extreme speed that's
dangerous.
deep, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing, and I've raised this through the office of the CE, but with the flooding, and obviously we're aware of what's happening in the St Albans area, but Harris Crescent also has significant flooding every time it rains, and it's not getting into houses, but it is starting to go on to properties. And while that wouldn't have been an issue when we had events, you know, seldomly, they're becoming very frequent. And I think we just need to have a bit of a briefing, a workshop with staff about actually what can be done if we're looking forward to address that issue and its potential of potentially pumping that water maybe to the Papanui Reserve bush, where there's actually drainage for the adjacent land. What is the re-subdivision beside? Marblewood. They've got a little drainage reserve in there, I think. But we're basin in there. So it'd just be good to get an update from staff. Is there any plans to try and address the frequent flooding that's obviously happened in Harris Crescent? So it's the east entrance between Hillwood and the First Street. Is it Moreland? First Street?
Yeah.
Moreland.
So maybe
It's the entrance closest to Greers Road, right?
No, that one closest to the railway line.
What we call that, the southern?
Is it eastern, southern?
I'd call
Not
it
the
east.
last-
I'll go east, go east, go
So
east.
maybe when you're looking at asking them to investigate options, there's put including pumping out in an event, because that could be a lot cheaper than actually redoing the drainage and stuff.
Yeah, well, it's kind of, it's the lowest point in the catchment. And I think residents will understand that it happened every now and again, but it's happened many, multiple times a year, and it's obviously affecting their access, which affects their well-being, and it is getting into the properties themselves. I don't think there's a risk of going into the houses, it is going to garages, but it is it needs to be looked at because it's going to become more frequent.
Chris, there. Simon.
Oh, thank you. Just wanted to note for the board, we had some night works on Manual Road at the start of this week. At the 32 Drive intersection, the road surface was falling to bits, particularly in the southbound cycle lane, which was getting quite dangerous. And that had been flagged to me by a couple of residents. I just want to acknowledge the council for a quick result on that. I spoke to the contractors. They were doing work they wouldn't normally do in winter because of needing to get asphalt down and things out to middle of the road, do the whole thing. But because of the safety issues and because of how badly it was deteriorating, they've gone in there and they believe it'll hold for maybe a year or two until some bigger works get done. But just thanks to the council for a quick response on that one.
I couldn't find a start work notice for that one. It wasn't on the websites, the Whakatahi one or the council one.
No, I agree.
Yes, there was something missing there.
Yes, yeah, it's still a gap in the comms.
Yep.
Absolutely.
How long have we been dealing with that, Emma?
What was that one?
Was that because it was more reactive than proactive?
They should have still been able to get it on the
Yeah, no, I
websites.
know that.
Yeah.
So can we have Simon's positive comments noted?
Yes.
Please.
Can we also add that there was a gap because that's been going on for ages?
Just they managed to get the big flashing sign up on the road, but they couldn't put on the
No,
websites.
it's obvious today. Can I just add something to that? The photos that you posted of that, is that the finished works?
The photos I posted that hadn't, the lane markings hadn't been repainted, they have.
That's
now.
what I was going to ask. Right, okay, thanks. Right, yep.
Can we raise that with Steve Guy too at the briefing just after this?
Yes.
Sure.
Remember that? Yeah.
I had a resident ring me this week in regards to the lack of recognition for Sherborne Street. So he would like us to recognise that Sherborne Street is not Cranford. and they are different, and that it's residential, and the changes that we agreed to in our last meeting with the taking away the ability to do a U-turn now means that to go for him to go north, he has to go down to Beatty Ave, along Beatty Ave and back up Caledonian Road, and it's causing him personally extreme issues. And he just like to point out to the board that, you know, Sherborne Street is a residential area and it's not a motorway anymore. The motorway is meant to be going down Colombo and Madras, and I'd just like to see, when we're talking about Cranford, that we talk about Cranford and Sherborne.
One thing I wanted to bring up was I've been approached by Casebrook Intermediate about the possibility of our board helping them out with a leadership award. They have previously been involved with the Sir Edmund Hillary Leadership Awards, but they are not running this year. And so they wanted to know if we as a board might be able to do something in lieu of that. And it got me thinking that could be something we could do for, you know, all schools in our areas, maybe some sort of award, community board award for them to present at the end of each year for leadership. So just sort of wanting to gauge people's feelings on that.
Is there the Link C? Do they do anything with schools? Perhaps we could be working in collaboration with that.
I'm not sure. This was just a one-off award that they do.
Something rather as Link, what it stands for.
Sure.
Yeah, that's focused on developing and supporting staff working in the community and volunteers.
Yeah.
And I think what the school had in mind here.
Yeah, it's grown though quite a bit over the years, hasn't it? That the Link C project, and I just am wondering if it's something that they could take on, or we could work with them.
Let's get staff advice on, I support it.
Yeah, I have mentioned it to staff and they sort of need a steer on the board. So, yep.
I was always a leader, so we've got to keep leading.
Okay, I'll talk to staff about that. We can go with that. Anything else?
Oh, so you were just talking. I just wanted to bring up with the St Albans Community Centre. I think Lynn told me the other day that there's something like 384 free hours provided to smaller groups in the community. So while Sarah, you know, it's about Sarah, that actually the community centre does provide for a whole lot of smaller groups to enable them to meet for nothing. So it's got a wider scope than just one organisation.
How many, sorry?
300, I think it was 384, and I don't quote me on that, but it was 300 and something, and it was high. Yeah, she pointed it out because she just worked it out and realised, you know, the extent of, you know, how much we do, that organisation does support smaller groups, and also things like, you know, I mean, we just did a funding application for the history group for $400, and then there's a funding application that the predator-free proof has been, you know, like it's been run through Sarah, but it's actually for Friends of Adelaide. So Sarah it umbrellas quite a few other groups that, because it's got the administrative staff and things like that, they do the work for the smaller groups as well.
Right, I'll now close the meeting with karakia. Tukuna te wairua ki rere ki te taumata. Ko te mata tika, te mata pono, e arahi i ngā mahi, ka arotahi te tira kia eke panuku, kia eke tangaroa. Kaungai, hui, whaere.